Good afternoon, sports fans. My name is Christian Temple, professional wrestler and Kansas City Chiefs fanatic, and I am welcoming you back to Week 1 recap of the Trajan Temple Sportcast. And as always, I am joined once again by my good friend, the terrible towel twirling Trajan. How are we doing today, my fellow 1-0?
I know we're setting 1-0. Just got back. Opening season of the NFL. I mean, it can't get better than this.
Absolutely not. It does not get better than that. A lot of fun games this week. A few surprises, a few twists, some comebacks, some very expected outcomes. But without further ado, let's go on to. We'll start with you this time. We're moving on to the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Buffalo Bills, and as you can see here, it came down to a final score. Pittsburgh winning 23-16 on the road in Buffalo.
A packed audience too. I mean, that's the one thing about this year. You got a full crowd, and so it's definitely nice to see that again. Went up to Buffalo. Things did not start out so great. First half there, we got shut out 10-0. Our defense really stood strong. There's a lot of bad field position kind of things that happen, especially with that opening drive. They get the kickoff, run all the way down there to like the 25-yard line. So I was like, oh, great, here we go. But they went quick 3 and out and had to settle for a field goal. So definitely positives there with the defense. I mean, it really held us into the game. Big Ben, I mean, not great stats, 18 for 32, I will say, in his defense there. I mean, just kind of like in your guys' case, whole new offensive line, trying to figure that out. And so he was under pressure a lot that first half. Second half, they got it cooking there, got some things going. Najee Harris, 16 carries, 45 yards. Not much to talk about there. Really stout Bills defense. Got to give it to them. It was a big defensive struggle. And one thing that stands out, Ben Roethlisberger got 5 yards rushing. I was laughing when it happened. Kind of scared, but laughing because it was like he started taking off and like, oh shit, I'm really doing this. And so
those 5 yards
but
coming on 4 attempts as well, which makes it even better. The average of
yeah,
1.3 yards per carry, not necessarily the numbers that the bus was used to putting up back in his day, but nonetheless.
yeah. But yeah, no, we second half came out gunning, scored 3 field goals, and then a touchdown, then a block punt, and that was the rest of the game. Block punt that we scored for a field goal, scoop and score. So it was a great day to be a Steelers fan.
It's crazy how eerily similar like our games were too. Couldn't but neither of our teams could get nothing going in the first half. Obviously, we did score a little bit more in the first half, but it seemed like with every turn, with every point we scored, Cleveland would have an answer for it. But back to your game, the one thing that sticks out to me and is very good news for Steelers fans after the enormous payday that he just received, T.J. Watt with 2 sacks and 1 forced fumble.
I mean, worth every single penny that we gave him there. I mean, maybe even more. I don't know. But no, yeah. So 2 sacks, 5 QB pressures there. And then he was just all over the field. Of course, when you have that sort of presence there, other people are eating. So Cameron Hayward had a great game. Our rotation of Melvin Ingram. And then Highsmith there, second year pro there. So, I mean, they really did great. Obviously, we got Devin Bush back. He was all over the field making tackles. Our secondary were just swarming them. Minka Fitzpatrick was very stingy the whole game. So it was just a huge defensive effort. Score doesn't really show how badly we were out there hitting them. So.
Absolutely. The fourth quarter being the biggest one for you guys with 17 points there. 2 sacks is huge for TJ Watt, but it seems like there is another player out there in the defensive world in the NFL who is also showing a lot of poise and a lot of grace and being a human wrecking ball, and that would be Chandler Jones. We're looking to see the competition between him and TJ Watt as the season goes along. But once again, 17 points in the final quarter takes the Steelers over the edge and gives them the victory, 1-0 over the season. Moving on to Kansas City, and you know what? I don't have a whole lot to say about this game right now, but I do know someone that does, so I will leave it to myself. Take it away, Temple. Alrighty, it is almost 8 o'clock in the morning, getting ready to head up to Kansas City to Arrowhead Stadium. Super excited for the Chiefs home opener right now. Just waiting for my ride to get here. Got all the stuff packed up too. Got my jersey sitting over there too. Getting ready to put that on here in a little bit. But yeah, getting ready to hit the road. Let's do this. Alright, it is 8:30 now. We are on the road to Kansas City. Looking to get there probably around right at 11 a.m. So we should be pulling into Arrowhead probably around 11:05 or something like that too. So, but on that note, we're on the road, baby. Alrighty, we are pulling into Kansas City now. We are mere minutes away from being back at Arrowhead Stadium. Feel the excitement. In line now, getting ready to go through the stadium gates. Gonna be a little bit of a wait, but you know what they say? The waiting's the hardest part. Pardon the copyright music in the background here, but we have made it to Arrowhead Stadium, and that is just as beautiful as ever. We're ready to tear this baby up. Let's do this. Let's go, Chiefs! We're here, baby. Getting ready to enter the gates. Let's go.
From Kansas State, number 13. Oklahoma, number 57. Orlando. Number 62, Joe Tooney. Number 52, Bree. Number 65, Ray Smith. TCU, number 67, Lucas Lee. Number 45, Michael Burton. Running back from LSU, number 31, Darryl Williams. Running back from LSU, number 25, Clyde Edwards. Wide receiver from West Alabama, number 10.
What a phenomenal game that was. It was so much fun being back at Arrowhead Stadium, a full capacity Arrowhead Stadium. And as you can see, final score, Kansas City Chiefs 33, Cleveland Browns 29. You know what? I'm just going to do this anyway. How about those Chiefs? Not a strong first half. Very similar to the Steelers. It seemed like the the Cleveland offense was just running, passing at will. Baker Mayfield looked awesome. Nick Chubb looked phenomenal. The run game was once again on point for Cleveland. It's one of their strong points. But moving on down to the second half, as you can see, 23 points in the second half, with a few twists and turns in there. Starting with Patrick Mahomes, obviously, 27 of 36, a great day for him, 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, and including a 75-yard bomb to Tyreek Hill. And if there was ever a definition of "fuck it, Tyreek down there somewhere," that was that play, and that was that.
Oh, yeah.
That was the spark, really, that got Kansas City back into this game, and it just snowballed from there. The botched snap to the punter. He tried to run for the first down, was not successful. The defense held strong there, followed by Travis Kelce getting the game-winning touchdown, the go-ahead touchdown at the very end, setting the lead, and Mike Hughes, who we recently traded from Minnesota, getting the game-winning interception. And when that moment happened, when he picked it off, boy, the place just lifted off the ground. It was so nice to be back at Arrowhead in a winning atmosphere. And it was a little we got a little nervous there with being down by 12 points, but what Kansas City has shown over the past couple of years is just because they're down doesn't mean they're out of it. So with that being said, once again, a pair of 1-0 teams inside the Kansas City Chiefs and the Pittsburgh Steelers. What a great way to start week 1 of the regular season.
Yeah, no, and I'll tell people, for those who don't know, my brother's a huge Cleveland Browns fan. How that happens, I don't know. But, I think he was dropped on his head a few times. But, no, the whole time he was just so happy. And then Josh's team, Temple's team, just has to break his heart. So
it's our favorite. It's our favorite thing to do.
Oh yeah, no, I'm torn because I'm like, I don't want my brother team to do too bad, but then it's like, you're in my division. I don't want you to win. And
speaking of the division, since the Chiefs have beaten the Browns twice within a single year, hopefully the rest of the AFC North takes note and see they can probably beat the same old Browns again.
Same old Browns. I don't like saying that. I get a little nervous twitch every time that happens.
All right.
For some reason.
Speaking of nervous twitch, I'm sure the folks down in Duval have a very nervous twitch right now. We are moving on to the power rankings, and even though we are down at the number 32 spot, rest assured we are not going to go through all 32 teams. We would be here all night. But we do have to point out the fact that the number 1 draft pick in this year's draft is now in the bottom of the power rankings, with the 37-21 loss to the Houston Texans of all teams.
Yeah, no, I mean, no one kind of expected the Texans to just come out thumping like they did. So it was kind of refreshing to see it. I mean, all the gloom and doom around the Texans right now to come out and play strong. I mean, props to them. But the biggest thing that stands out to me in that game for Trevor Lawrence is he threw the ball 51 times.
Oh.
Who is going to be successful in the league? I mean, if your name's not Brady or Mahomes, generally that's a recipe for disaster. And even them, you don't want them throwing 50 times in a game.
Absolutely not. And I gotta get a chuckle out of the opening line on this power ranking review here. Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer rather are not accustomed to losing.
I bet he wants an Uber by now.
I think he wants an Uber back to Ohio State right now, or does Urban Meyer. But my goodness gracious, if they are not accustomed to losing, they're gonna have to start doing so quickly, because if that's their best performance, they've got a long season ahead of them. And I'm talking even the New York Jets are probably even going to do better than that with as beat up as their roster is right now. But surprise of the year so far, the Houston Texans, as many outcasts and replacements and injury-ridden, and of course very Deshaun Watson-less as they are, surprising victory, 37 points on the Jacksonville Jaguars. But as the bottom line says here, the Jaguars can only go up from here, and we will see if that is truly the case come week 2. But scrolling all the way up here too, starting with another huge surprise in the NFL in week 1, the New Orleans Saints, after destroying, and I mean absolutely pummeling, the Aaron Rodgers-led Green Bay Packers 38-3. They have moved up 5 spots from number 15 to number 10. Do you think that's a fair spot for them to be at?
I mean, I think so. I think it's more that Green Bay just sucked in that game.
that's an understatement. That is a complete understatement.
They just faced the Packers at the right moment, I think. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from them, but they might be a little bit higher, but let's give them another game. If they go out week 2, battle it up, I think then, jump up in the standings. But they fall flat this next week, then it's like, can we really put that faith in them?
If they do fall flat against Sam Darnold and the Carolina Panthers, then maybe it is time to take a step back here too. But then again, we've got Jameis Winston here, and it says it all in the first line there. He has experienced a very odd NFL career. So this is a huge coming out moment for him. If he can keep up the momentum, we shall see. But this is besides the Texans just laying the smackdown on Jacksonville, the New Orleans Saints absolutely pummeling the Green Bay Packers has got to be surprise of the year, at least in my opinion so far.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. I couldn't believe it when I was flipping through the scores. I'm like, holy crap. What are we seeing here?
Exactly. All right, moving on to...
I thought Aaron Rodgers was injured, to be honest.
My goodness, I bet he wishes he was injured at this moment. Moving on to number 9, the San Francisco 49ers. I am shocked they didn't move down after this victory, being up that they had a 41-17 lead, and holy smokes, the Cardiac Kids barely pulled through because Detroit really did have a furious comeback attempt, and the 49ers, they didn't merely survive, they were crawling away from the battle, raising their thumb up in the air like the Terminator in the final scene, just happy to escape with the win.
They're lucky there wasn't more time on the board. They could have very well been on the other side of that. I mean, it started out really iffy with that botched fumble. I mean, the botched snap there.
The very first play.
And so, I mean, props to them come back from that, but you got to be stronger in the end. I mean, your defense has to hold. I understand this bend, no break, don't break mentality, but they broke.
They did.
They just didn't break all the way where they lost.
Absolutely. And Jared Goff almost getting the best win for the Detroit Lions history and his very first game as their quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
But San Francisco 1-0 in the season alongside every other team in the NFC West, surprising enough. But we will get to more of those here in just a moment. Moving on to number 8. Obviously, a very painful loss for Cleveland Browns, and I love this opening line here. There's a version of hell where the Browns are forced to play the Chiefs in Arrowhead for all of eternity, and that was, as you said, for knowing from experience for your brother being a Cleveland Browns fan, that was very painful to watch. I can commiserate with them to a certain extent, but at the same time, Patrick Mahomes and that high-powered offense, if they play a near-perfect game, it's hard to stop them.
Yeah, I mean, you can't make stupid mistakes, though, and that's what happened. I mean, the botched punt, fumble,
Nick Chubb
interception
fumble.
There.
Yep.
Yeah, you can't do that in the second half against winning teams. They'll take advantage of that every single time. And so, I mean, I don't want to say you have to play a perfect game, but you have to play pretty close.
Exactly.
And giving them short fields just isn't going to work.
It is not, but I don't think this is the end of the road for the Browns. I believe they will bounce back. I don't remember who they play next week, but pull it up really quick here too. But obviously Cleveland, they have expectations this year, and I know Cleveland fans are probably 50-50 is like, oh, like, wow, we look so good, but we pulled our same old stuff and blew it towards the very end there too. So I'm sure they're on the fence about it. The rebound.
The Texans.
There we go, against the Houston Texans.
So
So we will find out for sure if that victory of the Texans was a fluke, and we'll see if the real Browns will stand up once again.
Yeah.
All right, and moving on to another rival of the Browns in the AFC North, we have the Baltimore Ravens, who I have to admit it, I stopped watching the Monday night game against the Raiders around the third quarter, and holy smokes, am I kind of mad I did, because that was probably that game was drunk. There's no other way to say that game was absolute madness in the final quarter and into overtime. I mean, let's just briefly recap this here too. The Vegas Raiders have what they think is a touchdown towards the very end of the game, but the receiver's knee was down right before the goal line. They have to clear everybody off the field. And 2 plays later, Derek Carr throws an interception right through Willie Snead's hands. It's picked off by the Ravens, and the Ravens are going to drive down the field and win this game, right? Wrong.
No.
Wrong, sir. Wrong. Lamar Jackson, former MVP, not last year, but the year before, unfortunately, did not protect the ball. What are you supposed to do as a quarterback? You got to protect that football.
Oh, yeah.
And he loses it. The Raiders recover, take it down the field, and a 31-yard touchdown pass to Zay Jones takes the Las Vegas Raiders to 1-0 for the season, which also, we mentioned the NFC West is undefeated, so is the AFC West.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just crazy. It seemed like both teams were trying to give away the win. And finally someone just said, okay, I'll do it. And
it was getting close to curfew. We needed to end this thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if I have the Ravens that high. I mean, Lamar Jackson, he looked off. I mean, maybe it's just an off day, but he was missing receivers right and left, throwing behind him. I mean, he was playing sloppy. He had 2 fumbles in that game, doing his running there. I mean, it's a huge part of his game, and he is a huge weapon when he does that. But you got to protect the ball. I mean, you can't hurt the team.
Absolutely. Well, we will see if it was an off night for Lamar Jackson, because he has a huge test in front of him Sunday night, taking on Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. It will be at Baltimore, so maybe a home game will be what they need to turn around, and I certainly hope that is not the case. And moving up to number 6, the team that the Steelers knocked off this week, that would be the Buffalo Bills. As we said earlier, great start to the game in the first half. It was just the defensive struggle, but the Pittsburgh Steelers obviously pulled it off at the very end.
Oh, yeah, and the biggest thing there is it was kind of funny. They were touting the offensive line to begin with at the beginning of the game, saying that they believed they had the best offensive line in football, and our front 7 just feasted. I mean, he was just frustrated the whole game, Josh Allen. So maybe they get their offensive line back together, get it going, and can go out and win against Miami next week. But they got the weapons to do it. They are a good team. Maybe we're just better. I don't know.
Pittsburgh had a little bit to prove after how last season ended for them too. So I think first things first, when they saw the schedule, they saw week 1, they had a chance to prove themselves on the road against the Bills. I really think they dug deep and really wanted to get back at them too. But no disrespect at all to the Buffalo Bills. I still believe they will be the front runner in the AFC East. Obviously, a lot of things could happen in between now and the end of the season, but I still consider the Bills a contender.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Very good. Alrighty, and speaking of the Steelers, we're moving up to number 5 now. They have moved up 5 spots. A huge win for them this week. They definitely had a little chip on their shoulder from the end of last season, so this is a huge step in the right direction for Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah, because, last year, the storyline, you made fun of me for it. It was who do they really play in their 11-0 start? I mean, it was they had a weaker schedule to start, and then they lost to some good teams down the road. So
Yeah,
I think
the first time they played a real quarterback, Alex Smith, and I saw how that happen.
I'd say it was more their defense, but whatever, I'll give you that one. But yeah, no, I mean, we definitely circled this game. It was, we're coming in here, we're accepting the challenge, and never count out a Mike Tomlin-led team. I mean, he is probably the most underrated coach in football. It's hard to even say that since he's never had a losing season, but people just don't give him the credit that he sometimes deserves there. So, but yeah, no, it was a great game for us for all the reasons I said earlier. But number 5, it makes me nervous. I hate it when they hype us up too much because I feel like that's when we start letting the fans down. But no, I'll take it. Number 5 is pretty good.
You nailed it on the head there. Mike Tomlin being a severely underrated coach too. So, but there's a lot of positive things for Steelers fans to look forward to, and it's a long season. But I do believe there'll be the AFC North is going to be very interesting this year. But I do believe the Steelers will be up in the running, maybe over the Ravens, but it'll definitely be a dead heat between them and the Cleveland Browns as the season goes on. But I definitely believe the Steelers will find themselves in the postseason again. Moving up to the Seattle Seahawks, who cruised to a very impressive win against the Indianapolis Colts. Russell Wilson had a decent game, even though he didn't get to throw the ball a whole lot, but he did find Tyler Lockett. He did find DK Metcalf against a decent Colts defense, but obviously the Colts dealing with problems of their own with not having Quentin Nelson and Carson Wentz for most of the preseason, so getting them back into the swing of things. But Seattle Seahawks moving up 3 spots all the way to number 4. What do you make of them in the number 4 spot?
Well, it sounds about right because beginning of the season, everyone's like Russell Wilson MVP, he's cooking, all of that, and then they fall apart later on the season. But no, I mean they came out. I mean there's a lot of hype around the Colts. I just don't know about them. I'm not too sure about Wentz there. He's been so low for so long that it's kind of hard to put that much faith in him, thinking that the Colts are that big of a team to beat. But yeah, no, I mean it was definitely a decent football team that they beat, and they did it pretty handily.
Absolutely. Moving on up to number 3, we're staying in the undefeated NFC West, the Los Angeles Rams with a impressive win over the Chicago Bears. But I say impressive because there's a new sheriff in town in LA, and that is Matt Stafford, who seemed very comfortable throwing to his targets of Robert Woods, Henderson Jr., and Cooper Kupp.
Oh yeah, that's probably the biggest trade of the offseason. I mean, Matt Stafford coming into a team with the creative mind of their coach there, Sean McVay. I mean, that's kind of what he's missed all these years. I mean, it's been a revolving door of quarterbacks, not a stable system. You got someone that's entrenched, someone who's creative, is going to let him throw, and Matt Stafford's a good quarterback.
Absolutely, and that was a fun game to watch because you don't know if it's going to be hit or miss with Matt Stafford at the helm there too. But everything that I saw from him, he looked comfortable. He looked like he was ready to lead the team, and Sean McVay obviously putting a lot of trust into him too with that with some adjustments in that offense too. So very exciting time for Rams fans in the brand new SoFi Stadium. That place is huge, and that's a beautiful stadium. So I guess we now know what $5 billion can get you in a stadium too. So, but moving on to the first of the 2 Super Bowl teams from the previous year, number 2 being the Kansas City Chiefs, and as I mentioned earlier, being there live to see them play against the Cleveland Browns, that was an awesome win. I love the line, Patrick Mahomes is a football genius. I don't know if genius is described as throwing it hopefully down the field and pray to God Tyreek Hill catches it, but my God, was that fun to watch live.
I say football lucky guy. It's all it seems like sometimes. He just has unbreakable luck. I mean, there's skill there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to just thrash him, say that he's all. But, I mean, when you throw it across your body all the way downfield, you expect an interception. And it's just amazing. I won't take it away from him.
that was an amazing thing to see live. He also had a touchdown run as well too. Very reminiscent of his throw against the San Francisco 49ers back in 2018. He drops to his left, runs to his right, but instead of throwing to the back of the end zone, he makes a linebacker look absolutely silly with a juke move that knocked him out of his shoes getting into the end zone, and of course throwing the game-winning touchdown to Travis Kelce that would ultimately seal the deal. And like I said earlier, with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens welcoming Kansas City at home in Baltimore Sunday night, I am looking forward to that game, prime time. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely going to be a fun game.
So moving on, of course, to the final game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who nearly lost to the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I fully expected to turn this game off middle of the third quarter. I figured Tampa Bay at home would just walk all over Dallas. You know, Dallas obviously dealt with a lot of injuries last year. I didn't think they would be the same. I didn't think they would bounce back as easily, but they looked very good. But obviously, it goes without saying, if you leave Tom Brady too much time on that clock, it doesn't matter how many timeouts he's got left, he will find a way to get his team down the field and get the victory.
Oh yeah, I mean, then you get Tom Brady's performance with classic AB and Gronk. I mean, as much as it pains me to say that, but I mean, they're back. They're producing, and they're both of them, like it says, accounted for over 200 yards between those, and yeah, they're going to be a hard team to beat. I mean, then you got Godwin, Evans, their running game. They didn't run that great in this, but they got
Fournette, Jones, in the backfield, absolutely.
Yeah, so, I mean, how do you stop this team? And then on the defense, they got some points scored on them, but they're still a really stingy secondary and a good front seven. So they're a loaded team, and they definitely feel like a repeat team.
They are definitely a contender to run it back to the Super Bowl this year too, and I couldn't imagine why it would pain you to say that Antonio Brown had a great performance Thursday night. I just couldn't fathom how that would absolutely pain you.
I don't know. I mean, he's never done anything to me.
Right? No kidding. All right, moving back to the main screen here too. That is our show today. Hopefully you all enjoyed. We got obviously week 2 coming up here too. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers on. Let's see, they play at noon this Sunday. Is that correct?
Sunday.
Yep.
Noon on Sunday, facing the Las Vegas Raiders. I keep on wanting to say Oakland, but
it still doesn't feel right. It still doesn't feel right. And obviously, I will be rooting for you guys to take down the Raiders, and as you will probably be rooting for the Chiefs because they will be taking on the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore, primetime Sunday Night Football. Super excited under the lights and all that, under the spotlight, and the whole nation, the whole world's going to be watching. It's going to be a great time. So, but that is our show. Thank you everybody so much for watching. Click like if you liked the video. Click subscribe if you really enjoyed it. Tell all your friends. And you know what? I'm not going to end this episode, but I'm going to end this episode. Take it away, Temple.